So with that, I'm very excited to announce our first keynote of the day, Paul Lau, CEO and General Manager of SMUD. Paul, I'll hand it over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Jason. So first of all, welcome to Sacramento. I know some of you, this is the first time in Sacramento. And so I couldn't be more happier, when Jason said, hey, Paul, you know what? You've been working with ETS, for quite a while now. So what about moving it, west a little bit? So you can have ETS west. So I said, you know what, Jason, that's a great idea. So I just want to say thank you so much, Jason and C Prime and ETS, for really, working with SMUD, to put ETS Sacramento together. I think I was asked, actually, I don't know, I'm going to see myself as Keynote, but I was actually asked to say, to give the welcome and really kind of give you some context, really, on SMUD's clean energy vision or clean energy journey. And then I don't really want to, steal a lot of my colleagues' thunder, because I think what it is that you are going to go into quite a lot of discussions in terms of the things that SMUD is actually doing. But I think what's important is really for us to understand, maybe just a bit of context, how SMUD, got to where we are today, how we actually created our clean energy vision, 3 years ago, and really what progress have we made, and what are some of the challenges that we continue to see. But I think as Jason said, and somebody we were just talking earlier about, what's so great about ETS? Why is SMUD even involved in ETS? I said the reason why SMUD is actually involved in ETS is because this is really where the industry thought leadership is happening. This is really where, as Jason said, this is really where we are creating community of partners and collaborators, both the industry, the regulators, more importantly, the private industry, in terms of what can we do to really tackle one of the greatest things that's facing mankind right now, which is climate change. So I think I've got a couple of slides, so let me see if I can advance it. Oh, nope. I guess I don't need slides. Do I have the slides? Oh, no slides. Okay, well, I guess they sent me the slides, I guess don't need slides. So what it is just to give you some context, maybe a little bit about myself. I've been working at SMUD since 1982. So I started as an engineering intern that I thought I was going to be here a couple of years for the summer, because I did something that I hope everybody does before they start on a career. I thought I wanted to be a dentist. And after 3 months working in the medical center, I said, oh, heck no, I'm not going to be a dentist. So I was going to change major. And I was very fortunate, a friend of mine was actually working at SMUD as an intern. And he said, hey, Paul, they're looking for an intern. Why don't you apply? Long story short, I got the job, and really fell in love with the industry. So 42 years later, I'm still here. So I think what it is that for those of you maybe how many know much about SMUD? Okay, so maybe I'll just give you a little context about SMUD. SMUD, we're yeah, Dave, I don't think you can. So I think what it is that, SMUD is the 6th largest public-owned utility in the U.S., and one of the things that we were very proud of is that we're, everything that we do is for the community. So very proud to say that, I think we've been the #1 utilities according to J.D. Power and customer sat for the last 2 decades. And our rate is one of the lowest in California. In fact, we're 53% below our neighboring if you compare to their rates. But if you move out of Sacramento, you're going to pay at least 118% more. And if you're one of the more tier users, heavy users, you probably pay 2 or 3 times more. Something that we're very proud of. So one of the things that we did is that, 3 years ago, our board, in fact, one of our board members here, my boss is here, Director Dave Tamayo, and I think Nancy's going to be here earlier. They really did something that was actually really inspirational. They actually got together with the city and the county and all said, when they talked to their constituents, especially the young generation, climate change is one of the things that's weighing the heaviest on their mind. And they said, you know what? We're going to take bold actions and declare a climate emergency declarations. So all city, county along SMUD made these ambitious declarations. And I first became CEO 4 years ago. And one of the charges that the board gave me was to say, you need to do everything you can to address climate change. But before you do that, you need to talk to the community. So we did. We actually spent 6 months I think we had maybe 24 meetings. We had like 900 different organizations and folks coming in to say, what is important to you? And I think most of you who work in the industry knows that when you talk about climate change, talk about carbon, nobody knows what the heck you're talking about, especially when you talk about kilowatt hours, right? So what we did is what we found out was what's really interesting was that people are really concerned about reliability. They're concerned about affordability. They're also very, very much concerned about air quality and the quality of life in Sacramento. And back then, I think most of you probably don't realize Sacramento, and we're in the valley, where air quality is not very good. In fact, if you live in Sacramento, your kids actually have a 20% higher chance of getting childhood asthma. So after we talked to our community for 6 months, we developed something we call our 2030 Clean Energy Visions. We said if you take a look at where California is in terms of our very, very progressive climate change goals, if you actually look at, SMUD, we'd be a locally owned organization for 75 years. The timing is right. Because actually, for some of you remember, you remember Arnold Schwarzenegger have the Globe on Time magazine. The timing is right when we talk to our community to say we really need to do something. So we created something we call the 2030 Clean Energy Vision. So we said, you know what? We hear you. We understand for being a locally owned utility, our job is really to improve the quality of life for the Sacramento region. So, in fact, I'm very proud. Actually, our board modify both our vision and goals, right? To really be a trusted and powerful partner to move us through a zero carbon economy without leaving anybody behind. And they also want to make sure that everything we do is to improve the quality of life for the Sacramento area. So that was our charter. So we spent 6 months talking to tons of people, and we came out with a 2030 Clean Energy Vision. And then what that vision was really simple. Well, number one, you got to maintain your world-class reliability. Because the world as you know it today, if electricity stops flowing, society as you know doesn't exist. And in fact, just having internet goes down. If you have a kid, my first time I got a page from my kid at 911 was Comcast went down. So that kind of tells you, how, and especially now, also if you think about with COVID and the hybrid work, a lot of people working at home. So having electricity is absolutely the most critical things to our customers. And then the second piece is being affordable. Because the more you stay home and use energy, the more you make sure you got to be affordable. In Sacramento, we have about 100,000 folks on low income. That we actually, every month we're helping to try to manage the bill, lower the bills. So what we did, we said, okay, well, here's what we're going to do. We are going to have 2 guardrails. We're going to maintain a world-class reliability. We're going to make sure our rates is affordable. So we made a commitment to our community that we will not raise rates higher than inflation. Besides that, then we're going to do everything we can to try to get to zero carbon by 2030. We want to be absolute zero by 2030 because that's a very bold moonshot goal. And we took that out to the community and we said, you know what, this is what we're going to do. And I'm very happy to report after, I think, like 20-something community meetings, 900-something, either organizations or individuals, we actually got a 93% approval rating. So that gave us the impetus to say, okay, this is our grand plan. In the next decade, we are going to spend $2.5 billion to try to look at we have 5 gas-fired plants that actually emits about 2 million metric tons of carbon. That's our contribution of carbon emissions. But if you think about carbon and climate change, you cannot not talk about both building, transportation, and electrification. Just some context, right? We emit 2 million. The building and transportation sector emits 6 million. So we said we also going to make a very bold declaration that we're also going to spend $2 billion to really advance both building and transportation and electrification. So our plan is actually more than zero. Our plan is actually negative 1 million metric tons of carbon. So we had the plan together, we launched it, and we said, okay, well, this is our ambitious goal. This is our moonshot goal, and we're going to do it by 3 ways. How's am I going to do it? Well, we're going to do it first by partnering. First, you need to partner with your employees to make sure they understand why is this goal important to our community. You need to partner with our board, who's our regulators. For those of you maybe who's not familiar with the public-owned utility model, our board is our regulators. We're not governed by the CPUC. We only, basically look at the CEC when we go to the CEC when we have to operate our plants or build power plants. But we're completely self-driven. They set the rates, and they're out in the community. They're elected officials that they get reelected every 4 years. So we said, you know what? With that, we're going to go ahead and launch this. And we're going to do it first with partnering like we never had before. I think some of you in the room remember actually the first time we partnered with DOE. We were just having a conversation earlier that we knew what it is that if you align with what the federal government policy is and you align with the state policies, they're willing to actually help you move the ball forward. So partnering with regulators, partnering with your community, partnering with employees, but also most importantly is partnering with the industry, with vendors and manufacturers who are also very, very keen in moving the ball forward. So we said we're going to partner with them, and then also we got to change from within. Okay, you got to bring innovation in, because those are the folks that is going to bring. Because the way we're looking at it right now, when we look at our plan, we said, you know what? We can get to 90% of the way there with existing technology. That's utility scale solar, batteries, geothermal. But the last 10%, we can't get there with current technology. So you have to partner and bring innovations in. So we said there's 4 things that we looked at. We want to look at hydrogen. We want to look at long duration batteries. We also want to look at carbon capture and sequestration. And then the one thing that California can't do, is nuclear. So we said those are the 4 things, because in order for you to transition from a one-way power flow, that was base load generation, to a 2-way power flow with variability, coming through wind and solar, you need firming resources, because a megawatt of solar is not the same as a megawatt of geothermal or gas-fired plants. So we said, this is what we're going to do, and we're hoping this is an open invitation to the world. If you're serious about tackling climate change and really making sure that you want to make sure the community is part of that solution, you want to come to Sacramento. Let's partner together. In fact, something that we're very proud of as a public-owned utility, we actually got the California legislature to change the rules for the POUs. It's the first time ever that we can actually partner with private companies to actually we can't take stocks because we're a public company, but we can take warrants and some kind of sharing the IPs and actually have other ways for us so that we can capitalize on our IP. And so when we help those factories, those our partners grow and be successful, we actually partake, in the financial benefit of that. And the legislature has given us, that we can do 5 of those deals in 5 years. First time ever. Because, one of the things that, the legislature doesn't want us to do is really, be careless with public funds and invest in companies that, that sometimes would be successful, sometimes wouldn't be. So I'm going to fast forward now. So this is kind of the context that we had. In terms of, we said, here's a big, ambitious goal. Here's the 2 guardrails. We send the invitation out to the world to come please partner with us. And we said, you know what, we need to change internally. We need to make sure we have operational efficiency. We cannot operate just like any utilities, because the industry is fast and nimble. So therefore, we need to change our structure to be fast and nimble. So those are what we said. Fast forward now, 4 years. So what have we done in the last 4 years? So the last 4 years, I'm very happy to report. We've actually have about 1,200 megawatts. Let me back a little bit. Our system peak is about 3,300 megawatts. And for those of you who actually work in utilities, know that the industry has not grown for the last 2 decades. The last time we had a peak was 2006. Because, not surprisingly, we reduce our load 1.5% every single year through energy efficiency, and we put in about 40 megawatts of rooftop solar. So we said, you know what, we're not growing, so therefore electrification is a good way for us, to have beneficial load growth. But more importantly, it's helping customers save money. So what we did is that we said, okay, this is what we did. We said, we put in 1,200 megawatts of what we call traditional renewables. So we put in 95 megawatts of wind with 150 megawatts of solar, then we put 150 megawatts of geothermal. But we said, you know what, that's great, but that still won't get us to 100%. You need to have some breakthroughs. So very happy to report, last year with the IRA, we were able to actually secure with our partner about $330 million. So we partnered with Calpine last year, or year before last, to submit a $270 million grant to convert one of the existing gas-fired plants that is about 75 miles away from here. It's a 550 megawatt, 2x1 plant that is air-cooled. And so we actually convinced the federal government to give them the $270 million grant so they can convert that plant from 550 megawatts to a 400 megawatts carbon capture and sequestration plant. So we're in the process right now of negotiating with them to be the off-taker of that. Remember I said there's like 4 things that we want to look at? One is carbon capture, the other one is hydrogen, long-duration batteries, and nuclear. So very happy to report we actually have a partnership with one of my good friends over here, Eric Westhouse with ESS. In fact, we went to the California Energy Commission and said, you know what, their flow battery is really extremely promising. It's one of the things that we want to demonstrate and pilot and move to market. So we were very fortunate that we got a $10 million grant from the California Energy Commission to move the long-duration batteries forward. And then when you take a look about, well, most people don't understand what getting 1,200 megawatt means, right? And then we're actually looking at this another 4,000 that we're looking in the pipeline to try to get us to zero. But what's important is that, in fact, I'm going to share something with you that we're writing a memo to share with the board. I think officially I kind of told the board that with all the additions that we had, we just got confirmation for the California Energy Commission that last year we actually cracked the code in terms of getting to 50% renewables ahead of schedule. So in fact, last year we hit just our energy supply, we hit 78% carbon-free. First time ever in SMUD history. And in fact, when you include the RECs that you can buy for RPS standpoint, we're over 80. And so this is something that we're very proud of, and I think the board's getting a memo from me soon. I see Nancy's out there, and I saw Dave, to our board of director here. So this is something that the board actually chartered, basically gave the leadership for staff to go pursue, and we're seeing some of the fruit of that labor. Now, are we there yet? No, we're not, right? So this is only 1 year, but we're in compliance. But what it is that it's really helping us to really show our community that when they said, we want to give you charge to reduce carbon, but do it in a way that maintain the reliability, but also keep the rates low. We're actually on track to do that. So, I just want to say, I couldn't be more proud of what SMUD has done, but really what I'm even more proud of is really about how the industry has responded. So we are still working on hydrogen right now. I mean, we're one of the ones that actually had a couple of projects on some of the California hydrogen hubs in terms of moving hydrogen along. But from every indication that we actually looked at, that hydrogen probably will not be here for commercial scale before 2030. So we have to bank on something like a carbon capture and sequestration as a bridging strategy before hydrogen gets ready. So again, I just want to say, thank you so much for coming to SMUD, and thank you so much, C Prime and ETS, for really giving us an opportunity to kind of share how are we actually doing in terms of our ambitious 2030 zero carbon plan. But more importantly, I just want to make sure if you want one takeaway is we did it with our community partners and our customers in mind. So we give an update every 6 months. Public meetings like this to tell them where we're at, what success we have, what obstacles that we're facing, and then please give us the inputs along the way, how we can do better to serve the communities. So one of the things that we're very proud of, in fact, we just last week we kicked off what we call the community neighborhood electrification. This is something that we got $3 million from Congresswoman Matsui. We put in $3 million. And we're completely electrifying 300 homes in an under-resourced community. So those are the stuff that we said, one of the promises that we did for the community is that, yes, it's important for you to keep the lights on, keep the rates low, tackle climate change, but make sure you do it in a way that your community and your customers are part of the solutions, and making sure you leave no community behind. So I think that's a very quick intro what SMUD is doing. Again, thank you, Jason, for bringing it in. And I also want to thank, my board of director over here, Nancy Bowie Thompson, who actually got ETS, who got SMUD initially working with ETS, I think over a decade ago, right? Yeah, and so finally we actually were able to convince Jason to take some of the messages west. So thank you so much, Jason, and thank you. So everyone I know you have an action-packed day, so I hope everybody actually enjoys the time here. And so this is hopefully to be the first and for many more to come for ETS Sacramento. So thank you.